Hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar this week. We are actually going to do some stuff on flavors again. Carl, as you've seen before, if you've watched the videos, Carl has done a video on making flavors and stuff like that, but I wanted to go through it where you guys could ask questions at the same time. So anyway, and also going back to, if you guys have any questions on your Snowie live screen, remember, you have to ask your questions through Twitter or Facebook, so please use those, and we'll go from there. So I wanted to start out today by making flavors, and we actually get this question a lot, and you know, it's one of those things where some of the things that are the most simple in the business are those that we answer the least, because you start assuming everybody knows the answer to that stuff. So I wanted to go through that, show you how to make flavors, how to make sugar water, and how easy it really is. Like, I just spoke with a lady this week, and she was going to buy everything ready to use, and you know, it seems really simple, but once you start paying for shipping, what people don't realize is that now you're paying for labor to actually make those flavors. You're paying for sugar, and you're paying now a lot for all of the water and the sugar that is added to that. That makes for a very heavy package, and you could burn through those gallons really quick. And even if you were buying them in the big head pack, which is a 5-gallon jug, you're going to burn through that fast. So it's very wise for you to do these in concentrate form, because our concentrate, just to give you a little heads up, let me grab a bottle here. Our concentrate, it comes like this, and I'll show you another bottle here in a little bit. But these are preserved for 3 years. That's one of the beauties of this business, and we've spoken about that before, is there's literally almost no waste in this whole business. So even if you went and did an event and nobody showed, or it rained out, it was cold, whatever, you're able to go home and you didn't have to throw any product away. And I'll show you also today how to preserve your sugar water so that it has a similar life. The concentrate is 3 years, whether it's open or not, and you do not need to refrigerate it, any of that stuff. The sugar water, once you preserve it, it is preserved for it's preserved for 1 year. And I was thinking through, if you don't preserve it, your sugar water is really only good for about a week, maybe 2, depending on temperature and environment, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and start making some sugar water. So the first thing, one thing that you want to buy if you are going to preserve it, and obviously we highly recommend that, is to get the preservative and citric acid. And this comes as a pack, actually, just like this. So they come together, and this will allow you to make 16 5-gallon jugs. So this goes a long ways. And so one of the first things that you do is, you'll look at, we actually put the instructions right on the preservative. So you're going to fill your 5-gallon jug with 1 gallon of water. So I'm actually going to go through this process with you real quick. And some people ask a lot, should I use hot water, should I use cold water? And really, if you end up using a mixer, it doesn't matter. Your sugar will dissolve faster if you use hot water, but if you're using it for an event that you're going to that day, then that can become a problem, because then you have some really hot flavors, and you're pouring those on cold shaved ice. So you don't necessarily want to go that route. So I just filled that with 1 gallon of water. And then this jug here, it actually has a built-in cap. Oh, I thought this was open, sorry. It has a built-in bladder. So when I squeeze it, I don't know if you can see that, when you squeeze it, it'll actually fill that bladder to 1 ounce. And you let it go and it'll go back down to 1 ounce. And then you pour that in. And since it's 2 ounces, you're going to do that twice. So you have your preservative in. Now it's important that you separate the preservative and citric acid, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So we put our preservative in, and now I'm going to add the sugar. So what we do is we use a large red funnel. That camera on a computer it's hard, everything feels backwards. So there's a lot of things, and I'll answer some of those questions here, but when you get a starter kit, and even when you're looking through the accessories, people are looking at this and they're like, what would I want a large red like gasoline funnel for? And this is exactly why. You need to be able to somehow get 25 pounds of sugar into a 5-gallon jug. Now this bag's really big. It's actually 50 pounds, but I don't doubt 25 pounds just to cut it in half. And but normally you'll just buy a 25-pound bag of sugar. But we do things in bigger bulk now, so we buy them in 50s. So you'll just go through. This is actually a very efficient way of doing it. We do things a bit different now because we make so much. But until you get to that level, this is a great way. And I'm going to show you that 50-gallon mixer. That was requested quite a bit last time. And we actually got one put together for us this time. And we're able to keep one in stock. So I just added 25 pounds of sugar. And everybody's eyes get like this big, 25 pounds. And you know, you break that down, it's a 5-pound bag of sugar and 1 gallon of water. But you got to remember, people are eating about 3 ounces at a time. Everybody's like, wow, they're like throwing that back. And they're not getting that much sugar, but they are getting a lot of sugar. And that's why it's so tasty. So anyway, so now I'm going to top it off with water. Let's go back to our instructions. So add 25 pounds of sugar, then I'm going to fill the 5-gallon jug to the 5-gallon mark. And it's, I want to point out the instructions because a lot of times in our verbiage we'll say, you know, you're going to add it to 5 gallons of water. So people will fill their 5-gallon jug with water and then they start adding sugar. Obviously that's not going to fit. You start adding sugar to that, water, it's just going to like come gushing out the top. So make sure you follow in this direction. And reach. So I'm going to top that off. And there's actually, you have marks back here. I can barely see them, so I'm sure the camera's not going to see it. But I can't even see them. Maybe this jig doesn't have it. But I always come up to the neck right here. Show you where we'll stop that. We come up to there, and then we're going to add, now we go to the citric acid bottle. This is the other bottle, and it's only 1 ounce. So if you look at the size comparison of these bottles, this one is twice what this one is, because we're using 2 ounces of this for every 1 ounce in here. And everybody thinks also that citric acid is used to add the zing to the flavor. And it's not in this case. The citric acid that we're adding right now actually acts as an activator for the preservative. So if you put these two in together, they'll actually bond together, and you'll have little balls of like white preservative that's actually not preserving anything but the little ball itself. So you want to make sure that you add them at different times. So I add that 1 ounce, and now I'm going to mix it. And as you've seen in Carl's as well, so we have this, there's a few things that we're calling this. It's a drill mixer with mount. We've started calling this a drill mixer. First we were calling this a non-electric mixer. So if you still do see that in our verbiage, that's what it is. It's just basically saying it's a drill bit that's in a mount, because we used to have electric mixers that would tumble and different stuff like that. So it got the name non-electric mixer, which didn't make sense to anybody. And then you'll actually slide it in, and I'm going to have you back at that computer before I start. And so we'll put that in, and then this will hook right to your handle, and then you can start So you'll mix it for a couple minutes, and this drill, just to give you a heads up, so normally drills have a lock on them, and I didn't even look at this drill before. We actually normally suggest a different drill, but I use this one, and normally you can like pull it back, lock it, and you can walk away, and then this thing can just sit here and mix for 2 minutes. But right now we'll just hold it by hand real quick. And I'll probably put in, I forgot, we even, sorry, I won't shout over this. I forgot last time we actually kept our water level down quite a bit. And so that it didn't gush over the top. As you can see, we don't use these a whole lot anymore, and so we relearn it every time as well. So keep your level down a little bit, and then you can actually add and just top it off, and then you can just do like a 10-second mix, and all of that's mixed in. But anyway, you do this for a second longer. I'm just going to call that good. All right.
Yeah.
So, and what you want to do, so you can actually use a regular lid to be able to transport your stuff with. And what we do, if you're going to pour into quart bottles, so if you're pouring your own syrups, you'll want to use what we call our white spigot. And we have a red spigot, which I'll show you in a minute if you're filling bigger things like other 5-gallon jugs, or the 2.5-gallon jugs in flavor stations and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this on. And then I will have you follow me out to this kiosk. So normally your flavors, and that's good. I got it. So normally when you transport, we always keep our flavors down on a lower level, and then when we're going to pour them in and mix them, so I'm actually in a kiosk, but normally this scenario is used in what we call our building, and that's an enclosed kiosk. It has air conditioning, it has windows all around, and they usually sit in supermarkets. And the reason that we do that is because at a supermarket or at a permanent location, people, they want the variety. Part of your draw of that business is to get your customers to come back, try new things. So it's wise to have like 80 plus, even 90 plus flavors, so people can have a big variety and mix and match. It's part of the fun, and you're not burning through a huge line like you are at an event. And so what we do to be able to stock all of those flavors, and there are some processes out there that are very hard, and so people steer away from doing it. And that's why we're showing you this, because it's actually very, very simple to do what we're doing. And it's very easy to be able to keep your whole building stocked. So what we normally do is once we have this, then we pop it up, and it will live like that. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go through describe some things. So this is what we call our flip top cap. So when you see it on the website, it's a little hard to know what those things are used for, but it kind of just lives up to its name. It has a little flip top, and it's very easy to be able to put this on our concentrate. So I'm going to do that now. I put that on a concentrate bottle, and then if I'm filling a quart bottle, which is what most people serve from, I'm going to put 1 ounce into here. Now all of our concentrate goes 32 times. So this one concentrate pint will make 32 pints of concentrate, but most people serve out of quarts. So it will make 16 of the quarts. So you flip that up, and make sure you can see these measurements. So if you can see that at the top, it's sitting on the number 16. I'm actually just going to squeeze that down to 15. And just like that. So people wonder, man, how do you mix it? How do you go through that whole process? Well, that's easy as well. You don't do any of that. All you do is pour in your sugar water, and it mixes it while it's pouring in. So we come down here, And you can actually poke a hole up here at the top. I don't know if you, yeah, there you go. And it will help your fluid, your liquid, go into there quicker. Or you can like lift it and breathe it, which is what I always do because these always seem to leak, and I just don't like dealing with them. So there we go. So it was that easy. I just made a flavor. You can do that even in between customers, and keep your building stocked. I mean, it's very easy now to go through and supply this whole building. It took no time at all. And then what we do is we put in a pour spout, and that's what you use to be able to pour. And then while those are in the building, we also sell what's called dust caps, and it'll sit over that so it keeps bees from getting into your spigots. And then when we transport, you can either transport them in those dust caps, but if they have a chance of falling over, we have what we call on the website just these white screw-on caps, and then now they're not going to spill at all, and it's very easy and nice to transport them like that. That's how I always do it. Well, that's how I used to always do it. I haven't poured flavor from a pint bottle in a long time, which takes us to our next segment, and that's making flavors for events and how we go about doing that. So let's go and tackle that a bit. So one thing you'll always get, and I'll just point out while I saw it, is a 5-gallon jug wrench. Everybody thinks, well, why would I really need one of those? And you'd be surprised how hard sugar becomes like cement sometimes, and you're trying really hard to get a lid back up of a 5-gallon jug, especially if some he-man threw it on there and then sugar got on it after that. It's hard to get off. So these are very, very nice. You're able to like come and you can just fit them over there. It'll grab the lips, and you can bust it loose or tighten it. Anyway, it's a very nice tool to have. The other thing too is we're constantly like coming up with different versions that are better, that fit different sizes. If I'm not mistaken, we actually have a new version of this coming out. So if it doesn't look like this, don't be disappointed or surprised. These are always changing as we get better ones. You know, because now we have multiple jugs. We have the 2.5-gallon jug. We have the 1.25 gallons, which is the 5 quarts. Anyway, so it's nice if we have one wrench that will fit them all. Okay, so what we do here too. So now, if I was to make sugar water, this is the 50-gallon mixer. This is what was being asked to be seen last time. This thing's awesome. It makes 50 gallons at a time, and if you want to look in there real quick, so this has a bit. Actually, I don't have the bit mounted, but it would sit like this, and that bit would just float there in the middle, and it makes 50 gallons at once. So you can do all of your sugar water in there, and then what we normally do, so we'll come back down here again, is when we do our flavor for events, we'll make them in bulk. So rather than fill your flavor in your flavor station, or even do it in smaller amounts, we'll make them pre-made. So rather than that blank, we call them blanks. So that sugar water that we made, and when we put it in the kiosk and I made that little flavor from it, we call that a blank. And we'll usually take a couple blanks to our events, and depending on where we are and what we're doing. But I'll tell you what I normally do is I will make I'll commit a whole head pack. We call these head packs, the 5-gallon jug, and I mentioned that earlier, but I just don't want to confuse people with the verbiage that we use. So with the 5-gallon head pack, I'll commit a whole flavor to that. So if I have the 6-flavor station, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, I will make 8 flavors. My 2 most popular, which are always Tiger's Blood and Blue Raspberry, I make 2 of each of those, and then I make 1 of the rest. Almost every time, I have ample flavor when I do that. And if I ever feel like I won't know which flavor is going to be popular, then I'll make 1 of each, and then I'll take a couple blanks, because it's very easy then to change that. And so this is 20 ounces. This is our 16 ounce and a 4 ounce. And if we just pour both of those in a 5-gallon jug, that's our 20 ounces. And then the same thing when we pour sugar water in, when we open it from our 50-gallon mixer, as it's going in, it's basically mixing it up. And you could even take your drill mixer and do it a little more if you wanted to, but usually that's sufficient. And then that gives you a jug like this. Alex is working in a mirror here. And then the way that we do this, so I'm going to show you this. Let's go over here. So I have 5 gallons of, let's say, this is actually peach I'm holding, and I don't even have peach in here, but let's say I'm filling up a tiger's blood. Well, I'll come up here. Let's show the inside of this. You can see the labels. So right here is my tiger's blood. So there are people that will pull this whole thing apart. They'll come down here and they'll close off the junction. They'll take their bottle off and they'll fill it elsewhere, or they'll have a replacement jug like this and put that in. To me, that is a lot of work. And our whole objective is to strip this of work as much as possible. So you just take your lid off and you lift your 5-gallon head pack. Do that and then top it off. Since it's not tiger's blood, I won't mix it. But now you can just fill it like that, and you can even do it while people are filling up. I constantly have lines coming out, and I'll just say excuse me, and people are more than willing. I can throw this on top and fill it all while you're in business, and it makes it very, very easy and fast. It's awesome. I love this thing, and this is exactly why I don't pour bottles anymore. The question that comes to people's mind, and I know we've answered it on our webinars and on our website a million times, but people fear automatically, man, how much waste is coming out of this? And I just want to share 2 things. So one, we did some numbers that Lyle had shared, and it basically came to every $20 that you feel like you're wasting or giving away to somebody, you've lost $400 in sales by pouring that bottle on your own. It's crazy. Don't do it. And I personally feel like those numbers are very modest. I would do an event where we would do the ballpark and we would do a firework night, and it was the same every time. We would work as hard and as fast as we could. It would be hot, and we would walk from that event with $2,000 every time. And when we brought in flavor stations, that event went from $2,000 to $9,000. And we would leave that event with $9,000 every time on a firework night. And I was at that point, I'm I will never, ever, ever pour flavors on my own. It's just nuts not to. If I'm going to leave that event with $9,000 rather than $2,000, I'm doing it. And I had less employees. I didn't have an employee that was committed to pouring flavors constantly. And people love it. I have adults constantly that I tell people, I'll sit at a stand and I'll have adults that'll walk by and they're like, dude, you gotta get your own. I mean, it's you think kids have that reaction, but adults have the same exact reaction. They're like, man, I gotta make my own, I'm doing this. So that's what we do. Now, last time I pointed out this, look at this wrap. I was saying we have the kind of a poster material, and it might even be hard to still see on camera, but man, that thing is hammered. And this is what they all ended up starting to look like. And you even have a seam here. And anyway, so I don't know, people who hadn't seen the flavor station before, I wanted to show them what our old one looked like and why we transitioned to the new one. So hang tight here and I'll bring the other one. While we take this off, this is a new thing that we've done, and we can sell you the lighting equipment for this. So let's show down here where the spigots are. And we now have made it to where you can light up your flavor station, which is really cool. At night, this is awesome. Sorry about that. I have Jason texting me your questions as well, so I'm going to be going through those in a minute. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't that. Anyway, so we do sell lighting kits for these now. And we can show you how to install that and everything, or you can even get a flavor station with it and add the lighting to it. So I'm going to grab this one, stay here. maybe it'd even be even easier to see. See how sturdy it is now? If, like this one, I mean, it's just, it crinkles over time, and this one now is like sturdy, it's hard, and so it keeps its integrity, and it's very strong. So you slide that guy over, and it's a sweet flavor station, and I think that's where we are. So I believe that I had some questions coming through. All right, so there was a question from Gina, and by the way, so I'm going to hit you up for some questions here now. If you have any questions concerning it, then let's go right now with it, and I'll go ahead and answer Gina's. So she says, your white spigot leaks when I fill them. What's the trick to stop that? So let's go back and look at that. Watch that tongue. Now, Gina, I wish I could ask a follow-up question. If you shoot your question again, Jason will shoot it to me, and you can follow up to my communication to you. But do you mean when it's sitting like this on the counter, it will leak? Basically, the best thing to do is make sure that your gaskets aren't being pinched. And people do that a lot. Really, it's like I brought up the 5-gallon jug tool, the wrench, and really I don't even use these, just so you know. I normally have one always on hand just to be able to get the lid off. And there are other people that will use them, and I need it for that reason too, because if somebody puts one on with this, it's very, very hard to get off with your bare hands. So you have these gaskets inside. You have a rubber gasket here, and then you also have one right here. And these, there's a couple things that will happen. Either people will tighten this. I mean, I just have this hand tight. Like, look, that lid is loose, and I just had it where I'm with loose fingers. That's tight, and then I just go like a hair more, and that's all the tighter I make that. I don't crank that down. For some reason, people feel like they have to wrench everything, and once they buckle that gasket, it will leak. And the same thing goes with the one inside. So you just want to make sure, like when I put this on, all I do, so that's like loose finger tight, and then I just kind of nudge it a little more. And this thing's loose, so you shouldn't even have to tighten anything more. You can just move your spigot around where you need it, and that should keep it from leaking. Really, the only way it'll leak is if your gaskets are old and cracked, and you just need to get new spigots, or if it's a new spigot, you're pinching your gasket. So I hope that helps. Now I've got sugar. So, I don't believe I have any more. Jason, let me know if there are any others. I think that's it. Like I said in the text, if you read it, we were just keeping it simple today. Actually, it went even a little longer than I anticipated. But, man, the flavors are very, very easy. Again, going back to this, don't fear it. I mean, I have people constantly that will fear the flavor station because they'll fear waste, and they'll fear making sugar water because they think it's hard. And if you think what I did today was hard work, then I don't know what to tell you, because it's easy, and it's not difficult to stock a building, to keep it stocked, and all of that. It's very, very simple. And I think I just got a text here. So there's another from Jeff. So Jeff is at an event with an 8-foot kiosk, and your space is 10 by 10. What's the best placement for a 6-flavor station? Well, if they'll let you, this is a great question, because to me, this is one of the best things about the flavor station too, is oftentimes they'll let you put it right out in the crowd. I would say 95% of every event I do, I will go right up to the front of where I can place my kiosk. And I don't think this has a sign. Let's go around here. We don't have it on it, but if you look up here, let's cut the camera to that, and we have a sign that comes off the front. Now I try to hug there's two things that we try to do with the sign and with the flavor station. It is, when people are walking, all events are usually like a big old line, a big old channel of stands. And the more you can be seen in that, the better. So we have a windsock, that is a huge draw. And then we also have a sign that hangs off the front so people can see it as you're looking at it, every stand that's lined up. Nobody else is popping out, and we actually stick an arm out there and say, hey, here we are. And the other way you can do that is with a flavor station. If they let you put it out in the crowd, do that. I mean, right now, obviously this one's sitting right in front of the kiosk. We don't do that. Like if I had my kiosk, here, let's back up a bit. Come to there. If I had my kiosk right here, I would take like a couple steps out, and I would put it right here. Now, it depends on the event. The event might be like, you can't do that. And if that's the case and you have to hug that, then what we do after that is we will remove the tongue. So right now we have the tongue assembly on this kiosk. We actually have some aluminum blocks, and you can get car stoppers, you can get all kinds of things at AutoZone, whatever, that you can then put under the axle, which is right here. See that? So we have an axle on the front of the kiosk and also on the back, where the wheels are mounted. But you just put a block under here, a block under the other side, and then you can remove that tongue assembly, and then you can put your flavor station right at the end, and then you still fit within your booth space. Usually that's pretty easy to pull off, and then you don't have people tripping over it trying to get to your stand. All right, I hope that answered your question, and please give a follow-up one if you need it. And I think that's it. If you have another question, please let me know. We'll try to answer it real quick, but if it doesn't come through, I think we'll call it. And so we'll see you. Actually, we're going to do our next webinar the second week in September. So the second Thursday in September, and we might actually change it up from Thursdays. Anyway, stay tuned for that. I don't want to make it too confusing, so maybe we won't even mess with that. And we'll see you then. Thank you.